G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it.
Welcome everybody. Today I'm interviewing Barbara McGregor, who is based in Hobart, Tasmania. Thanks for your time, Barb.
Thanks for having me, Michael.
We actually don't live too far from each other, so I don't do these podcasts too often with people close by, so it's good to chat, and someone I've known for a little while. We met probably, around 10 years ago. I've known your husband for longer, and that was at a footy club we were both on the board at. I think it was our first contact, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. No, it was some time ago, and I must say, I think we see each other running, and well, you're cycling, I'm running, and we sort of pass each other in the street a bit at the moment.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, more recently, last year, you embarked on your own business, which is awesome. You can talk about shortly. Today, you're going to chat about the importance of engaging employees on business strategy, principally as a way of improving culture and performance. And I think being a business coach and working with many, many small businesses over many, many years, this is one aspect that's often lost on business owners. It's a great topic to share your insights. I'll hand over to you. Just tell our audience a bit about yourself and experience in this topic, and then we can go from there.
Thank you. Yes, my career's spanned different industries, so from ports to energy, mining, renewables, aquaculture, and started as a journalist. But the evolution, I sort of lived that evolution of the importance of communicating strategic plans in a way that really defines your employee value proposition and your culture and the DNA of your business, and how that can really help improve performance in the business, improve decision making, give businesses more agility, and ultimately better performance through employee engagement. And for me, I started that journey in the 90s and probably would take people back to the evolution of communications in itself in business. You've got in the sort of 1920s, you've got regulatory communications in businesses. So it's here's the laws, workplace safety. In the 1950s, you're introducing normative style communications, which is this is how we communicate behaviours, but it's really top down. This is our expectation. Basically, you behave like this or you don't fit the bill and you're gone, to what we called in the sort of late 90s, early 2000s as cognitive communications, which is where we're really starting to understand that power of hearts and minds and how we connect people. My journey has then taken me over the past 2 decades further into that, which is really to say, how do we bring all those elements together to have a balanced scorecard approach within our business that's super engaging, that cascades to team performance right up to vision, that then we use as a tool also to guide internal and external communications. It's really good when you can map out actually where businesses have come from generationally and where we are today and what best practice looks like. And it's a good sort of audit to do based on that.
Yeah, and it's a good, interesting, the evolution of those aspects. I wasn't certainly aware of that around communication and the like. I guess in the context of small business owners, what would you recommend as far as a starting point? So we're talking about strategy and engaging employees. What's your approach to sort of maximise the outcomes there?
Small businesses particularly, it's around being able to define, okay, what's my purpose? What am I doing? But also core priorities. And strategic planning for large organisations is not dissimilar, but then your strategic intentions probably become a lot larger. It's a lot more onerous on how you roll those up into the 3 core pillars or really distilled, easy messaging. As a small business, that's probably a lot easier to do. It is a really effective tool for a small business owner to say, right, what's my purpose? What are my strategic intentions? And actually to use that as a plan on a page, a roadmap to guide the business to stress test where you're stepping outside those core intentions, but then to take it that extra layer and say, well, how do I cascade this into roles and responsibilities? How do I echo this through values and behaviours, measuring team performance, using that to guide team, to guide the individual, and to report on that in a really routine way to bring people on that journey. We know that businesses that do that have better decision making, they're more agile, they bring people on their growth and expansion journeys, they don't lose people along the way, they maintain those engagement levels, and they can actually use them to build better employee value proposition by the way they present those strategies as well. So you can do it in a really, really fun, engaging way. I think the day of strategies on PowerPoints that are just black and white are gone. It's strategies that are communicated regularly, that you step back and you go, well, how does this make the employee feel? What are they hearing? What are they seeing? How is that being lived? How is this part of our DNA? How are we bringing this to life? It's a lived document. It's got to touch all those communication facets.
Yeah, no, some good points there. And the aspect of, and what your thoughts around the involvement of, let's say, key people in the business as far as bringing that strategy to life.
Yeah, I always recommend to executive teams, strategic plan is top down, bottom up, sideways. Have your really clear direction where you're going, but sound that back with people. It's a collaborative process to build. And then once you've really stress tested, and it's a really good process to go to, because I've worked with companies where they'll say, we have 30 strategic intentions or 30 core targets. And my advice is always the human brain can only remember 3 to 5. And what you want to be able to do is any given day, I need to be able to say to you, Michael, what are our 5 key strategic priorities or our 3 strategic priorities? And you need to be able to sound them back, because that's just the holy grail. Winding them back under 3 sort of key themes that resonate, that link up into your purpose. And then how do you put in place communication mechanisms within your business that report back on that demonstrate kicking goals under those themes, that really bring that to life every day, every week. It's really the executive team having ownership, probably your CFO having ownership of the balanced scorecard approach to it, your communications people having ownership of the communications element, and HR in there with the engagement and the measures that they'll build into engagement surveys and the like, to understand how people are qualifying that information and what it means for them and how much they're retaining and responding to strategic direction and the way that's delivered.
Yeah, I like the keep it simple approach, less is more. And in the context of small business, so let's say, for example, 10 to 15 employees, you're saying that you suggest that's a lot easier, and I guess just by having less people involved, arguably. But if you've got a team of, say, 10, would you get everybody involved, depending on their role?
My feeling is the more collaborative you can be, the better. It's really having a starting point and working as an exec team or a team of 10. It might be yourself having an idea of where you want to take the concept, and then doing that in small groups. So even if you've got 10 employees, you can probably afford to sit around the table and say, this is where our strategic direction is, but I really want to understand what that means to you, because a strategic intent to me might sound very different to someone else. Having gone through a process recently with a business, you realise when you start to stress test those words that they do absolutely have different meaning, and you can't afford to have any sort of confusion. So you need to create that space to get the wording right so that everyone's clear.
Yeah, you touched on communication, which is so important, particularly in the execution phase, right? There is open lines of communication, structure around the execution. There is no confusion. He says that type of thing. But lost on small businesses is the communication structure, because I talk to business owners, it might be 15, 20 employees, and they say, no, we don't, because we're a small team. That's the initial pushback. But as we know,
messaging's king. And as a CEO or when you're at the top and you're living those messages every day yourself, it's easy to forget that someone even a few steps down from you in 10 employees might not resonate every day. You've got to just keep rinse and repeating, get those messages right, and also empower people to have ownership of that, to say, yep, that's where we're going, that's what I'm here for. It's just as powerful having that common purpose and then those really crystallized sort of key directions so that everyone knows where they're heading together, and then how you go about putting that into communication practice, that you say, this is a really good example of us taking a customer first approach, or whatever your strategic intention might be. This is it in practice. Well done. Then you build that into reward and recognition. You can build that into position descriptions as well. It just resonates right through, and it's easily measured and discussed.
Are you struggling to find time to work on your business? Or is your health and relationships out of balance? Lost confidence, or are your weeks filled with fear? Our free 10-day Transform Your Performance online course shows you how to unlock at least 5 hours a week. We start with the secret to guaranteed success, and with over 100 lessons and free tools, you will become more focused, productive, and feel more in control of your business, health, and relationships. GrowSmallBusiness.com.
I guess to your point, it provides alignment across many aspects of the business, right?
Yeah, absolutely. In an ideal world, you really do have that plan on a page that at the highest level then cascades to the department's plan on a page, that cascades to the individual's plan on a page. And you can neatly just see, okay, well, my responsibility there directly relates to the overarching team. And so it just becomes a really neat discussion when you're having those performance conversations. This is our shared objective. You can see what you've done really well here with your initiative under that directly relates, as a result, we're ahead of schedule, or we've got better safety result, more volume, or whatever the target might be. And then putting that in an actual scorecard that you can share with staff and really celebrate those successes and really measure where you are at any given time.
I think that's a good point to celebrate success, because many business owners sort of move on pretty quick and forget to celebrate with the team. So I think that's a good point. What always staggers me is that when I love sport, now you love your sport like your husband, but all sports teams share their game plan, which is essentially their strategy with the team, right? And
Absolutely. Yeah.
many business owners treat their strategy as like a secret.
I've had that. I've worked in businesses where I've come in, I've said, where's the strategic plan? And they said, oh, it's in this file somewhere. And I said, who's seen it? Oh, well, we know what it is. Like, well, what's the point in that? So you're all the businesses with a few hundred people. Well, that's great. But how does anyone know where they're going? And how are you possibly getting there as a team? And then how do you make that appeal to absolutely everyone across the organisation, no matter what their role is? And that's where language, tone, colour, all those sort of communication elements come in. And you can really make it a bit quirky and fun as well.
Yeah, and I think that's important. You sort of make it fun, gamified or whatever. Business owners who don't think this is important and take it seriously are really putting their business at risk ultimately, and risk insofar as losing team members because they don't know where the business is going, their role involved, what their career path and the aspects that sort of come with it.
Well, there's so many studies that show a direct correlation between understanding strategy and culture and engagement. It sits at trust. So if you're a CEO that shares openly the strategic plan and does so in that game plan style, that this is our plan, this is what we're doing. If you've got to suddenly go right instead of left because of market circumstances or other reasons, or you've got an acquisition or a growth plan, your employees are already there on the journey. They're not in steps behind, because that just ends up in confusion, disengagement. It's all about trust in the centre, bringing people on that journey, helping them understand why, and then being really upfront on that communication, which is why that real pulse around comms is so important internally. And then reflecting that with your internal strategy or investor relations strategy or your market strategy, customer strategy. It's having exactly the same messages that go out there. So you're communicating your pillars. This is why we're here. This is what we're about. This is our plan. This is how we're kicking goals against that plan. It also goes back to this is integrity. This is what we said we'd do, and it's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's good. Have you got maybe a story to share with our listeners of where engaging employees on that business strategy journey has improved culture and performance?
I've always been really passionate about this wherever I've worked and taken into a number of probably bigger industries. But as I said, it's so readily and much easier probably to do that in a small business. But I had a global role where I had to do this across Europe and Australia and America in 4 different languages as well. So it was so challenging, and a company that was going through acquisitions and divestment in different sites and different markets. And there was real fear of leaving people behind. And there was also this whole extra layer of massive amount of sustainability initiatives, with some people, if they didn't understand the purpose, would probably think that's just added so much more time to my day. It started with the preface of, we're going to deliver a strategic plan across all our sites around the world that employees are going to live every day and feel really proud of and have real ownership. And it doesn't matter where you work in the organisation, you'll get it. And so what we saw was, let's take performance metrics, safety, EBITDA, volume, culture, engagement, just to name a few. This isn't an overnight process. I normally say that this is an 18-month to 2-year, 3-year process. But within 18 months, the feedback we had from employees right around the world was, I get why I do the job I do. And I'm not only here to do this sort of mundane task if you're in this part of the business. I'm actually building things for a better world. It's really taking that high-level purpose and inspiring people that they're part of something bigger, and then having 3 really distinct core areas. This is our roadmap. You're all part of it. Here's the journey we're on. And then every week having these global internal communications that were themed under those core pillars that just showed employees kicking those goals, just demonstrated it in a really fun way. And then introducing other communications with leadership, CEOs, forums, innovation workshops, you name it, all those sorts of great internal communications mechanisms. But also the biggest thing was then translating that into a quarterly balance scorecard. You could say, well, here we are, and look, on safety where LTIFR is down, and here's the reasons why we've brought you on that journey all year. You're doing a great job. EBITDA is up. It's no surprise because there's this extra effort. That's just a fantastic lived experience for me on how there was just this incredible trust grown, this passion for what people were doing, and ultimately it just positively impacted impacted all those performance areas.
No, it's a good story. I think some business owners might say, well, that's all very well for a large global business, but as you say, principles remain, and getting the structure, communication and the engagement still applies, and it can be done simply. Like you say, I think the key is it does take a bit of time and a bit of effort and discipline.
But it can simply start with self. So I look at my little business of me, self can be, I'm simply going to set my goals and deliver my plans and look back on that and keep myself on track.
Yeah, that's right. It just starts small, and you just grow that the whole process as the business grows. Certainly can be done any size of business. It's just a matter of adapting it to the size. You and I know we can talk all day about this sort of stuff, but just to finish off, Barb, what's just one thing you'd recommend a small business owner does based on your knowledge and expertise after listening to this?
Yeah, I think there's two things. Do some research globally. There's so much material out there on really good practice. Find something that fits your business. Get a business coach in, or someone that can come in and run a little bit of an audit for you and that knows what good looks like, has had that practice. Just get them in to run an audit, have a look at what have you got in your toolkit, what about this is some ideas. None of this is rocket science, but it makes such an incredible difference.
A business coach like Grow a Small Business, at the end of the day, we can guide business owners and small business owners to sort of facilitate this sort of stuff. Look,
100%.
Really appreciate the chat, Barb. Hearing your thoughts, it's a great topic and so important for small business owners. So thanks again.
No, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
We'd greatly appreciate you taking a couple of minutes to leave our podcast a review on iTunes. If you don't have an account, simply follow us on Spotify. You'll help other small business owners find the cast and valuable content our guests share.